G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad NRL Fantasy Show. I'm Stu, that's Dill, and we're the Fantasy Bros. We're back once again, having partnered with GameDay Squad to bring you all you need to know to succeed in GDS Rugby League this season. Dill, g'day mate. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Team List Tuesday has already dropped and it's time to take a deep dive into our Round 9 GameDay squads. Sadly, we have to wait that extra 24 hours due to no footy being on tomorrow night, given it's Magic Round, but what a weekend it's set to be. Before we get into that, mate, how'd your squads go in Round 7? Were you able to repeat any of your heroics with that classic win the week before?
Yeah, g'day Stu, g'day viewers and listeners, and it's good to see already that our mate Sif Kanga is in the chat. It is time to play the game indeed, and he will be absolutely pumped after our little bet last week. So please, if you are with us today, make sure you jump in the chat and let us know how you are going, who you're playing this week, who you're starting and sitting. Yeah, mate, I unfortunately I couldn't repeat that magic of last week in the classic competition. I finished outside the top 20 pretty much in all the competitions there, but I did have another win in the GDS Cup, so that was absolutely unreal. And I did secure that mystery prize of a 2025 All-Star card. So I'm pretty stoked to have one of the first of this year's All-Stars in my hands when they come out. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. How about you, mate? Obviously no GDS Cup, so you can just focus on the 4 competitions. How did you end up?
Yeah, that's right, mate. Hey, congratulations about another win in that competition. Gee, there aren't many left in that comp. We're going to have a look at the fixtures shortly and see who you're up against this week. But that All-Star card is a pretty big advantage already looking at next year. We've seen some of them go for upwards of $500 on the transfer market already. So depending on who you pack, that could be pretty handy. Not just the bank account, but maybe some points moving forward into season 2026. So well done on that. And yeah, good luck moving forward. Mate, similar story for me in terms of weekly placings, just outside the top 20 for all 4, but still sitting 10th and 7th in the Champ and Challenger comps. So I'm sort of in striking distance there at the top 5 and just got to be somewhere in that top 10 for a prize card come end of year. So we've got a long time to go between now and then, but it's always nice seeing your name in that leaderboard and not having to scroll down past the top 20. So I'm still there in overall contention.
Yeah, and remember, if you are inside that top 10 at the end of the season, there is a prize card there for those, as well as the GDS Cup, which we'll talk about in a moment. Don't forget as well, we're coming to you live throughout the season every Wednesday night, so make sure you subscribe. Michael Cozzi's just jumped in and he has let us know we've jumped up 2.05 subscribers. I'm not sure how that works, but that's a big jump from last week, so well done. Thanks, Cozzy. I'm sure you'll be giving us some more chat a little bit later on. So yeah, jump over to our YouTube page if you haven't already done so. You're watching us through other means. That is FantasyBros AU. We also will have our TikTok and Insta with our lock and pods of the week that we will be giving to you hopefully tomorrow or Friday. So that you can get them into your squads as well. So if you haven't already done that, make sure that you jump across to all of our socials at FantasyBros AU. Plenty of content, and then pack giveaways as well throughout the season.
Yeah, it sure is, mate. And it's certainly not too late to get started for everyone maybe stumbling upon our live show. Or look, we say it every week, but if you've got some mates that are keen on some footy and you're catching up with them this weekend for Magic Round while you're sitting around between matches, tell them to download that GameDay Squad app, get it up on their phone and show them how it all works. Tell them to plug in the code FBRL25. And they'll pretty soon have access to 3 9-player common packs. That'll certainly get their classic and challenger sides rolling. But then you can watch them as they open a whole heap of starter packs and see which bronzes they pack, and they can get their starter comp rolling. They won't be eligible for the GDS Cup, but they'll certainly still be able to win some cash and pack prizes through the lower tier comps as well. So certainly not too late to get started. The boys are giving away thousands and thousands of dollars worth of cash and pack prizes each and every week. So it'd be silly not to get involved. So download the app, jump onto the website, use the code FBRL25. And we've also got our own individual referral codes on screen as well. If you want to pause or take a screenshot of that, you can enter them into the little referral section as well. And you and I will both get a nice little reward from that. So yeah, perfect time to get some mates involved in Game Day squad if they're currently not playing. And if you're sitting on the fence, umming and ahhing yourself about getting involved, absolutely wonderful time to do it. Don't have to spend any money, can if you want, but it's certainly free to play. All right, Dill, what's happening today, mate?
Yeah, mate, and just on that, free to play. Look, if coaches played a full bronze side of the top scoring players in each position last week, they would have won themselves $1,375 across the 4 competitions. So that's absolutely free to play, absolutely free money there. Those bronze cards, they do come in the starter packs, and when you sign up, you do get a bunch of starter packs to start that bronze team as well. So that is definitely free money there. There's no need to spend a cent, and you could make yourself some decent money if you pick the right squad. Yep, in terms of the plan for today, mate, our weekly show on a Wednesday night, we'll be previewing who we think the best players are to play in the round across each of the positions. We'll reveal then who we're playing in our all bronze starter squads, particularly heading into the tight-knit GDS Cup as we get down to the last 16. And then, as always, we'll have a bit of an opportunity to win some cards through our Bro Down Showdown segment. And we'll also be opening a pack for our mate Sif Kanga. And we'll be announcing a couple of other things along the way. So make sure you keep with us for the next 45 hours or so. Also, as I said, GDS Cup, round 5, complete, and those winners have been notified. Massive effort to everyone that got up in their matchup. You can see there one of our mates from work. We talked about him last week, Scrambled Legs. It's his first year in GDS, and he actually had the best score in the GDS Cup last week. So straight away, he hasn't spent a cent on cards, and he's going to have a 2025 prize card. So that is as easy as it could be. Unfortunately, the Movementarians, he came up against Scrambled Legs, and he had the highest score of 1073, but still lost. He got done by that score of 1098. So unfortunately, Movementarians did all he could, but could not progress in the GDS Cup. As always, you don't need to do a thing. You just set your starter squad, and the GDS boys will organise your matchup ahead. So check the Discord. I think the matches are there as well. You can check their help page for all the information. And again, as we always say, if you are the last coach standing, you will win the 33rd pick in the 2025 GDS Rugby League prize card draft. So that is huge. And I'm really hoping I get there. Just a few more matches to go. Like I said, we are down to the round of 16. So who knows, a couple of wins and I could have a prize card as well.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's great to see just on that list on screen there. There's plenty of sort of familiar names that we see both on the leaderboards and, you know, being quite vocal in the Game Day Squad Discord server as well, but also quite a number of names that aren't familiar whatsoever. So some teams that maybe go a little bit unnoticed, just flying through and, you know, playing some good eyes up footy, aren't really making the leaderboard every week, but certainly getting their bronze squads right and getting a nice matchup and getting a win. So there's certainly plenty of familiar names, but mate, I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these unfamiliar names progress pretty far, and hopefully we can get them on the show and ask them what their secrets were. So yeah, if you're in that top 2, top 4, we might see if we can get a little guest appearance happening. Right, Adil, I reckon we get into the next little bit of a teaser. So you want to tell everyone about some pack bingo just before we jump into the hooker position?
Yep. So we obviously it's Magic Round, one of our favourite rounds of the year. And as some of you are aware, we've done a few pack bingos in the past. This is an opportunity for you to open all of those packs, particularly if you've been doing a bit of trading, a bit of card exchange over on the Discord. So what we'll be doing tomorrow night, we'll be hosting the live pack bingo. All you need to do is open your packs up on the stage over on Discord. And then if you hit any of the cards that we have listed there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow night and how we got to some of those. For every 3 hits, you will get a pack. So hits 1, 2, and 3, you'll get a 9-player common. Hits 4, 5, 6, you'll get a 9-player rare. And then hits 7, 8, and 9, you'll get a 9-player unique. If you complete the card, you will get a 10-player elite pack. Also, if you get any hit at all, you will be put into the random wheel spin to also win a 10-player elite pack. So massive opportunity just before Magic Round to fill in that day tomorrow night when we don't have any footy on our screens. So get involved with that tomorrow night. Make sure you load up on your packs, save them, do not open them. I know that's really difficult to do sometimes, but save them for tomorrow night because you could be rewarded with some massive prizes.
Yeah, and probably same time as tonight, probably 7 o'clock kickoff we'll aim for. We'll update the Discord server if there's going to be any change to that. So if you're not currently a member of the Game Day Squad Discord server, we'll try to throw a link in our description on YouTube after the show, but should be pretty easy. Just jump on a Google, type in Game Day Squad and then Discord server, and it should be pretty easy to find. Also, if you log onto the Game Day Squad website, there's a link that'll take you straight to their Discord server. If you're not quite sure about Discord, just a bit of an online community where it's a bit easier to get in contact with the developers, with the guys that run the app, and also get up to date with some of the announcements and what's happening. Dill likes to post some team list news as well, particularly quite helpful for people on the move or new players. So get over the Discord server. There's more than just a place to chat, but it's a great source of information, and you can get involved in that bingo tomorrow night. All right, Dill, positions for round 9. I'll kick things off with the hooker position, and we've sort of jumped between a few players over the last few weeks. Last week we sort of tried our luck with Damien Cook. I mentioned Reece Robson actually that I was going to play him, but you wouldn't believe it. Anzac Day, log on to the phone, and who's locked out? It's Damien Cook. He was in the lineup, even though I went on for about 90 seconds about Reece Robson. So I'm not going to make that same mistake this week. Reece Robson will be loaded and locked into my team. Look, he started the season really poorly, but he's followed up that 69 2 weeks ago with a nice score of 72, which included a try. But there are a stack of points scored in that match in terms of NRL points, and he still managed to make 50 tackles. And in previous matches, he was sort of making in the low 30s and also missing a handful as well. From those 50 tackles, he only missed 1. And in fact, across the last 3 matches, he's only missed 3 as well, so 1 in each match. In the 4 matches prior to that, he'd actually missed 10 tackles in total. And all of those missed tackles certainly pile up in terms of demerit. So it's pleasing to see that he's improved his tackle technique and efficiency. He's also running the footy a lot more. He's a lot more dangerous close to the line. And I think the Cowboys realise that when Reece Robson's playing good footy, they're playing good footy off the back of it as well. So this matchup with the Warriors should be a pretty nice game. Both teams in some decent form. I think there'll be plenty of traffic through the middle, plenty of opportunity for some Robson base points. But I think he's someone that I can be happy to play and expect a safe floor with some added upside with a bit of a ceiling as well. So, look, that cookie experiment hasn't really worked. I think it's safe to say we probably won't see an 80-minute Damien Cook. That might be long gone. But I'm eager to hear from you. Are you going to put your faith in your boy Wade Egan, or does TMM's inclusion on the bench sort of put a question mark around that?
Yeah, and I think I probably should apologise to all the Warriors fans, including Kyle, who's in again, up the wires indeed. Yeah, look, I think I'll apologise to the whole Warriors team. I just can't bring myself to play Wade Egan, even if TMM wasn't on the bench. I just feel like, even though he's absolutely dominating at the moment in Wade Egan, I'm just nervous about his next injury, or if I pick him and then the Warriors, I somehow break the whole Warriors side because I've picked him. I don't know. And I just don't want to see that. So for that reason, I'm just going to hedge my bets, and I'm going to play Robson as well based on his form. But just on Wade Egan with TMM in the side, look, obviously, we saw a couple of weeks ago, Tamara Martin came on, played a little bit of hooker there. I think Wade Egan had about 65 odd minutes when Tamara Martin did come on. And he pretty much after the game, Tamara Martin said, I hate playing hooker. I don't want to tackle that much, but he will do whatever he needs for the team. So I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing, and what's going to happen there. But yeah, I just think for now, I just don't want to go near Wade Egan just in case both injury or the Warriors team starts to fall down a bit. So yeah, Reece Robson for me, similar reasons. He had a slow start, but like the rest of the Cowboys, I think they all had a slow start to the season, and they've just really sort of found their form, and they're running quite hot at the moment. The last couple of weeks, he's averaging 60 GDS points in the last 3 games that he's played in terms of Reece Robson, and he's coming off almost back-to-back 70-point games, as you said. So I think he's going to continue to push for that Origin jersey, and I think he's going to play some big minutes. And look, the matchup data between the Warriors and the Cowboys against hookers is very similar. You can't really split either one. They're sort of both teams are allowing about 33 GDS points to all hookers. But then if we break that down a little bit further and look at 60-plus minute hookers that have played the season against the Warriors, they've allowed an average of 50 points, whereas the same metric for hookers there, 60 minutes plus against the Cowboys. They've allowed an average of only 43. So if we get that 60 plus minute, which we know we will from Reece Robson, there's probably more chance that he's going to have a higher score. He's probably got a bit more opportunity up against the Warriors there. So yeah, for me, the same, bit boring, but yeah, we're both going to run with Reece Robson this week.
Love it, mate. Are we both going to run with the same 3 middle forwards that we've been running for the last, 8 weeks?
You'd be silly not to. You'd be absolutely silly not to be playing Haas, May, and Yo. And look, we don't even need to talk about them, but May for me is the big one. And obviously he came off that Golden Point win, and he had 85 minutes on the field. Benji took him off for 5 minutes, and after the game, May came out and said he absolutely roasted Benji and asked him why he was taken off the field.
Filthy, yeah,
absolutely filthy. So if you've got an 80-minute or 90-minute middle, I think you're just silly not to play him.
And who else do you like in that middle forward position then?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Max King. Obviously, we saw a down game from him last week against the Broncos, but plenty of reasons why he had a down game. He had 53 minutes on the field. It was absolutely bucketing down. There were puddles all over the place. And then obviously the Broncos were so dominant in sort of that first probably 40 minutes, really, and they sort of took their foot off the gas in the second 40. But I think that played a big part in why Max King probably didn't have a big score. And we were probably chasing the week before's points as well. But I think, he'll get back to his 50 plus GDS average, like we've seen in the last few weeks. And then we know that he's got that try scoring upside as well, similar to the likes of Haas, Yo, May, Addin Fanua-Blake even as well. So if someone wanted to pivot to Addin Fanua-Blake or play all 5, I wouldn't be against it, but I'd just be wary with the inclusion of Hamlin Uele back in the side for the Sharks. He's back this week, and in the 3 games they've played together, Addin Fanua-Blake's only averaged 51 minutes on the field. So I just keep an eye on that and be a little bit wary about someone like Addin Fanua-Blake.
Yeah, I like the Maxi King shout, and yeah, there was a touch of sort of chasing last week's points in that 87 that he scored on Good Friday with that try close to the line. But before that, the signs were really promising as well. He had a 54, 53, 52, a 59, and a 50. So there was some really good, reliable stats there coming out from Maxi King, and his minutes were a little bit healthier with back-to-back 60s. But yeah, the week that you and I both sort of gravitated over to him was the week he came unstuck. But yeah. I'm happy to say plenty of excuses there, and yeah, give him another crack. Look, the Dogs just weren't in that game in the first half. The conditions were against them as well, and they never really were able to get back into the game. So that was a reduction in minutes for Max King as well, and maybe that was just a sign of, okay, the game might be done, but we'll keep our best forward a little bit healthier for next week and getting back up to those 60 minutes. So not the end of the world. A 40 in, not a huge amount of minutes isn't the end of the world either. A lot of good forwards, Addin Fanua-Blake, Tarpanay, they're pumping out mid 40s at times as well. It's really hard to pick, when some of these blokes are going to go big. So, yeah, I can't go near AFB this week. We've seen him leave the field sort of early, walk up a tunnel with a groin and a shoulder over the last couple of matches. We've seen a 42-minute and a 43-minute match. And until he's, sort of showing that he can get through his normal 50, 55 minutes and getting back to, some sort of attacking form, I'm pretty happy to look elsewhere. And Maxi King will get that third middle spot for me. So, looks like you and I are burning through this because we've got some pretty similar ideas. Let's see how things go with the edge forward position. I'll start. I'm looking at 3 edge forwards here. I'm going to play 2 on field and 1 on the bench. And the first guy I like is Jacob Preston. I'm going to give him another run in my side. And, despite scoring a try, he's still really only scraped that low 50 score. And you expect someone like Preston, if he does score a try, to be up there around the 60s or, mid 60s as well. So again, plenty of question marks or a line through that performance against the Bronx. Things just sort of didn't go the Dogs' way, and they were sort of defending. And I think Preston made a really early error as well. So he's already on negative points for the first 5 or 10 minutes. But look, their matchup this week is so much different to last week's matchup. They've got the Titans, who are absolutely allowing so many points down both sides of the field. We saw obviously the left side in Nanai score, what was it, 2 or 3 tries and run absolute rampant on that Titans right edge. But even though Preston will be over on the right, people might want to play Billy Kickout, and he could be in for a massive game as well. But, the Dogs, despite no Burton, they're still a quality outfit. They'll want to atone for last week's, sort of miserable performance. Their fans are really up for them this season, and they sort of let them down last week. So we know that they'll click back into gear. Preston's a big part of both their attack and defense. I think there's no reason why he can't find an attacking stat or two either. The Cowboys just put 50 points on this team, and the Dogs have been on top of the comp for the first 2 months of the season. So I don't see why Preston isn't going to go well again. So he's definitely a lock for me. You looking the same way?
Yeah, and just on Preston, I know that, like you said, he's on the right side, and a lot of that traffic sort of goes down the left for the Dogs. But in terms of their matchup data against the Titans actually allow 48.5 points to the right side edge, which has them ranked third for right side edges and points allowed in that, in the comp. So there's still an opportunity, I think, there. And like you said, Birdo's not there, so there might be some more traffic going down the right with obviously Toby Sexton maybe taking a bit more of a leadership role there. So I still think I'm happy to roll them out, even though potentially a lot of their attack goes left. Is there a world where you'd ever play Preston and Kickout and have both edges up against the Titans' defense, or is that maybe a bit of a GDS no-no?
Oh, yeah, that's tough. If you're a risk taker, look, why not? If your opponent Cucumbers is watching this show, he might get an idea to maybe clock into that sort of strategy. I think that left edge forward has been dominant all season long against the Titans. It wasn't just last week. It's been a thing that's occurred, pretty frequently. And Kickout on his day, we've seen him get the offload out. We've seen him score 2 or 3 tries. We've seen him, flick one out the back and set up 2 as well. So there's a world where Kickout goes big. You and I aren't massive risk takers. That would be a huge risk. But look, there's certainly a whole heap of upside. And if you're someone that's game enough to take the risk on Kickout and he pumps out a 60 or a 70, then well played to you.
I think he might sneak into maybe my classic side, and maybe I'll be talking about him next week. The reason why I get up in classic, we'll see. Sif Kanga has chucked who he's playing in his edge position. He's got Toby Couchman, Bo Fermor, who's obviously having a massive run at the moment, and then Dylan Lucas, who just returned. Dylan Lucas is probably the one that I'm probably the least certain about out of those 3 that he's named. He's someone that I'm sort of tossing up as maybe that third edge player. I'm just not sure whether I go him or Young. We obviously saw Young last week, didn't cross for a try, which is the first time in the whole season. I think he hasn't scored a try almost, in about the last 3 weeks, but he still scored 59 GDS points. So look, his 5-round average is also 66.8 GDS points. His floor looks to be around 40 and his ceiling is almost 90, maybe even higher, depending on the matchup. So I think for me, Young probably has a little bit more upside up against the Storm at Magic Round, though. You don't know what the Storm are going to bring. You don't know how good their defense is going to be, but they have allowed more points to left side edges than right side. So I think, I'd probably go Young over Lucas just because there's a little bit more upside. Are you sort of thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I do have Young over Lucas at the moment. Just because he's been impressive even without scoring that try, and that 59, without a try or line break or any assist is an indication of just how much he's willing to roll up the sleeves and get through some work for the Green Machine. The Storm, are pretty poor defensively on the right. They've got a new couple of new combinations. They've got Fa'alongo back there on the wing as well, and the Storm weren't really tested against a Bunnies outfit that were, out of sorts last week. So they've got a bit of a test here against the high-flying Raiders, and I think they'll go left fairly frequently, and we know how capable Hudson Young is. We just need to remember back to that Golden Point match where it's the 80th minute, but he absolutely accelerated through a really small gap after he'd been tackling and running for 80 minutes. So, look, he's just a competitor. He's an absolute workhorse. Even if he doesn't score against the Storm, I still think he'll get plenty of opportunity. He's averaging close to 60 in base. So if you can roll out an edge forward with the attacking upside like he has shown us already this season, who's already going to average, in base probably above 50, then I think that's a pretty easy play for me. It probably actually just does come down to the Max King matchup earlier as an extra middle forward to go on the 80-minute. Dylan Lucas. We saw him come back from injury with an 80-minute match there against the Warriors. So that was really impressive to see him getting the 80 minutes. He wasn't fantastic. He wasn't getting any of the attacking stats like he had at the start of the season, but he actually clocked up the most running meters out of every game, which is a bit of a surprise after coming back, from a soft tissue injury. So that sort of shows us that the signs are pretty good for Dylan Lucas, probably over those injury worries. And look, he's going to have 80 minutes on the park, provided he stays healthy. So for me, it might be a play over Max King rather than a Hudson Young or a Preston. So I don't mind the 40 or 50 floor or base in him, but with the matchup that the Knights have, probably a little bit easier than last week. We're going to obviously talk about a few Knights players later on in the outside backs, and there's no reason why Dylan Lucas can't be amongst some of that try scoring upside as well. So it probably comes down to Lucas v Max King, and it could be a pretty late pivot from the dog to the Knight.
And it's probably more down to, coaches' feeling or vibe of how they think the Knights are going to perform. There's obviously big concerns at the moment over the Knights in general, trying to find that sort of chemistry and rhythm again, like they sort of had in the first couple of games before Lucas got injured, really. I think maybe, looking back, that might have been the catalyst for the Knights starting to have some poor performances. Who knows? But yeah, if you feel like the Knights are going to bounce back against what is starting to look like a pretty decimated Bunnies side as well, which we'll probably touch on a little bit more soon. If you think they're going to bounce back, then maybe Lucas is the play over Max King just for that upside. Look, we talk about the left side of the Knights each and every week, and how on paper how dominant they could be with the likes of Ponga sweeping them the back. You've got Best, you've got Marju, you've got Dylan Lucas there, you've got Sharp running every which way as well. It looks pretty scary on paper. That's just got to produce on the field, obviously. So if you think that the Knights are going to touch the Bunnies up, maybe Lucas is the play then.
And I heard you've got a diamond Dylan Lucas available for sale or trade. Is that right?
Yep, I sure do. And I think someone tagged you in that to say that you were looking for one. So we might have to get a deal sorted, I think.
We shall. So do you like Toby Couchman again this week?
Yeah. I think that's just a set and forget. I know he had a down game, and I hope kind of people go away from him then if they look at that and go, oh, I don't really want to go out. He only had 50 minutes on the field and he turned out only 48 points. I'm a bit nervous to go back to him, but across his 7 games this season, he's still averaging 1 point per minute that he is on the field, and that's just absolute gold for that edge position. It's a cheat code. We've said it every week. Playing in the edge position for GDS, but in the middle for the Dragons. He's currently ranked 4th based on averages for the edge position. And even if he was listed as a middle in GDS, he'd be 4th there as well in terms of his average. So, I have no problem with just continuing to run with him until we see something bigger that might change, his minutes significantantly, or we see a complete reduction of that for whatever reason. It's a pretty lock and load for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw him play 70 minutes, clutching his knee every couple of runs, only 3 or 4 weeks ago. So he's got a motor. He's certainly capable. He rips in that. Don't really know what happened last week in terms of the minutes and that sort of thing. They've been up and down all season, but until we see signs that sort of thing is going to continue, there's no reason why we need to jump off anytime soon. Dill, we're doing far too much agreeing, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but tell me, are we going to have any differences in our halves?
Anyone that was following us throughout the Big Bash season, I think one week we had the exact same team and we said we were super nervous and we flopped horribly in that. So maybe this is a sign. So I'm going to throw out. So obviously, look, most coaches are going to look at the halves position this week and just pick the solid 3 of Cleary, Hines and Fogarty. If anyone did run an A-Ray last week, they were super rewarded with his effort. Obviously in the wet against the Dogs, he put up a massive score there. And then obviously Sif Kanga with the pod call in Lockie Galvin, he was rewarded with 66 GDS points. So that was a great call there. I think there's a few junk points in terms of those golden point minutes and getting a few extras added onto there, but that's all right. But for me, I'm actually going to pivot. So I had Fogarty, Cleary and Hines, but Fogarty was probably my dodgy one that I wasn't quite sure on. I wasn't quite set on. And I think I've convinced myself while doing some research that I'm going to pivot to Mitch Moses. And I'm a little bit scared playing Hines and Moses together in the same game. And I know that can be scary, but I have this thought in my head that there is a world where they both score well. In terms of Mitchy Moses, he's got a great matchup to kick off Magic Round as well. So that'll be the first game on Friday night. The Sharks have allowed an average of 53 GDS points to right side halves this season, with the notable scores of 56 to Cleary, 75 to Jamie Humphries. Remember him and how well he was playing. 68 to Fogarty, 59 to DCE, and 66 to Galvin that we just saw. So if you're really nervous about playing Cleary versus the Broncos, who only allow 45, if you're nervous about Hines versus the Eels, only allowing 46, or Fogarty versus Storm, like I said, the Storm are only allowing 28 points to right side halves. Maybe that Mitch Moses pivot is a pretty good one. Maybe he might be our pod of the week.
Yeah, okay. Gee, that 28 points, the Raiders right halves against the Storm is a bit of a worry, but mate, that red tinge around my Jamal Fogarty, I'm not sure if you've got the same tinge on yours, but it's so hard to leave that card out, particularly being a Canberra Raiders fan as well. But that's obviously in my champion side. It's probably a world where I'll look to pot up in the halves across some other competitions as well, so, across the other tiers as well. So obviously, yeah, Mitchy Moses kicks things off again with that showdown against Nicho Hines. Could probably expect some free-flowing footy there. First game of the round, the field should be in some good condition. Probably expected to get chopped up a little bit later on in the week. So, players might lose a bit of footing. There might be a few extra errors or, that sort of thing. So maybe take advantage of the field early on. And Mitchy Moses has one of the best boots in the competition, probably alongside Jamal Fogarty there. We saw he'd been out of the game for so long, but came back in a dominant performance there against the Tigers and led them to that really nice victory as well. It was his kicking game that certainly put them on the assertive, and he was really silky with his hands as well. I think he laid on 3 or 4 tries. So if that was his first game back and he's had a whole week off through the bye to recover and then to prepare for this one, yeah, he's probably certainly in for a big game. And the Sharks are looking pretty vulnerable. They're scoring points in attack still, but they've been pretty poor in defence. And Mitchy Moses and the boys in goal down there at Parramatta would have spent some time having a look at how they're going to attack this Sharks team, and that's certainly first and foremost through Mitch Moses. He didn't even goal kick last match. I think Sean Russell took most of the kicks, and Moses might have had 1 or 2 toward the end. But I'm wondering if that's going to continue or if he's certain of the tee, because if he does get the tee, I think it's far more likely that he could feature in more teams. But it's so hard in knowing, particularly if both of them are warming up. We know that Moses won't have the kicking tee all season long, with Zach Lomax set to return in either 2 or 3 weeks. So do they just say, look, Mitch, Sean Russell's kicking them well enough. You just look at kicking the boys around the park and steering the forwards around and running the show with the 7 on your back and don't worry about the kicking tee this season. So it'd be interesting. It could add, 9, 12, 15 points to his score. And then we're talking, like a solid 50 into a high sort of 60s or close to a 70 as well. So you and I might need to pay close attention to the kickoff, to the pre-kickoff warm-ups, and maybe get some spies in the crowd there as well. So if anyone's going to Magic Round, let us know, please. You can be our eyes and ears out there and see who's striking them before the match there in the Eels versus Sharkies, mate. Just run through a couple of other pods very quickly. Toby Sexton, probably one that a few coaches might look at. He's going to take control of that Dogs team again with Burton out. He scored some really nice 50s and upper ends of 50s as well when he's had that chief playmaking role. And they've got obviously a really nice matchup there against the Leaky Titans. Tommy Dearden's in some excellent form, and there's a bit of call for him getting an Origin jersey, whether that's 14 or maybe more likely 18, but sort of first man up for any injury. He's in some red hot form as well. So when someone's on a run like him, you want to capitalize and take advantage. But yeah, I think Moses might be the best pod option there, and a few coaches will have a big decision to make come Friday night. Luckily, we've got an extra 24 hours, so we might have to mull over it tomorrow night and see what people are thinking during our bingo tomorrow night.
Yeah, definitely. And look, Nathan Hartwell has jumped on, and he's backing Fogarty to have a massive game to show the Milk supporters he's still 100% committed, even after the big announcement that he is moving clubs. So, yeah, that could be a big factor in Fogarty playing well. I'm just, still a little bit nervous about that matchup data that has Fogarty. Look, against the Storm and only allowing 28 points. I'm just a little bit nervous there. But then I'm also nervous on the other side of playing Moses and Hines in the same game. It didn't go as well as planned in that first game of round one with the Panthers and the Sharks. They're playing Cleary and Hines against each other. So yeah, that's probably a big decision to make. Sif Kanga, he's also running the Moses Cleary Fogs. Then he's going to play Galvin in starter this week, but he's probably not going to play as well. You got to back your man, Sif. He's won you a pack, so you've got to keep going to him. Hey, yeah. I love the call of someone like Toby Sexton. He's probably not on the lips of many coaches, so he might stand up and have a big game on the right side for the Doggies. And I'm also nervous about Tommy Dearden up against the Warriors. Look, the Warriors have been pretty good defensively over the last couple of weeks, but we just go back to that Melbourne Storm game where they led in 1,000 points, and it didn't look like they wanted to be there at all. And if that happens, if that's the Warriors we get, then we've already seen the Cowboys can put on 50. Who knows what they could do up against the Warriors when they don't turn up and they don't have the correct attitude. So yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous about Tommy Dearden if anyone plays him as well.
And I guess someone you're not very nervous about, and that'll be Herbie Farnworth.
Not at all. Not at all. Herbie is just the man, isn't he? He's playing like he is playing for his life, I think. I feel like it doesn't matter who he comes up against, doesn't matter what the matchup is. He just has an absolute banger of a game. And he's got the Roosters this week where, again, on paper, it could potentially be a tough matchup. But I think this might be the match of Magic Round. The Dolphins playing so well. The Roosters coming off a nice win last week. I feel like this could be a high-scoring game, and it could be a lot of points. And we could be coming out of the week saying this was the match of the round. Look, he's matchup proof. His high scores this season have come against the Storm, the Titans, the Broncos, the Tigers, and the Knights, and a couple of sides in there are really good defensive sides. So we know that it doesn't matter what he does, who he's up against, who he's defending or attacking against. Herbie is able to accumulate points really well.
Yeah, he's top of the competition across all positions for tackle breaks. He's got the fourth most offloads, and those two stats are just absolute fantasy gold. So yeah, he's always looking to break a tackle. He's always looking to promote the footy, and every time he does that, you're going up in multiples of 3 or 4 on each occasion. So yeah, in a position that's pretty slim and pretty bare, Herbie's certainly head and shoulders above the rest, and I think center spot 2 is probably going to bring about the most sort of debate. So let's get the ball rolling with a couple of options. We know that the Seagulls and therefore Ruben Garrick won't be taking part in Magic Round. They're on the bye, so Garrick probably would have been an easy plug there as the second center. But that leaves us with a couple of other options, and you can see on screen there we've got a few guys in Brimson, Holmes, Meaney, and Cobbo, all with tremendous upside, but also some very low floors as well. We also see the return of KL Iro. And just quickly, what do you think of the name change?
What's the name change? I haven't heard it.
The name change. So he's gone to just literally KL. So a capital K and a capital L. So I think the story just quickly was, I think it might have been his dad from an early age was always pushing the KL narrative, even though it was, pronounced Kale. But he was always signing or writing things with the K and the L. I think it's only just come out recently that he's decided to put that out there in the open, and the NRL team sheet has him down there as a K and an L. So that makes it easy for people. I don't have to call him Kyle anymore. It's pretty easy just to call him Kale or KL if you want to take your time. But
he was using his rehab really well, obviously.
The things that matter, hey. Yeah, so question marks around his return. Is he fit and firing? I don't know. I question his return. Like he was always sort of slated to come back this week or next. But it just seems all too perfect for Hiroti going down and KL Iro being named back in that starting team again. If Hiroti was still playing some good footy and he was healthy, is there a world where, Iro's maybe not 100% and they sort of hold him off for an extra week? I guess we'll never know. And he's named, and when your player's named in the starting team, you should be pretty confident that he's going to put on a good performance. But we've seen time and time again, when a player comes back from a soft tissue injury, they're, a little bit behind the play. They might not have the same amount of fitness. they might not be as dominant as they may have been pre-injury. So there's always, some apprehension or concern around playing Kaeliro. But when you go to your center position and you sort by averages, he's out there on top for a reason. He's been really good. I think he scored every single time that he's taken the field this season for the Sharks. And that was something that he didn't really do too often last season. So he's not just tackle breaking. He's not just running plenty of meters. He's not just linking up with, Trindle, Kennedy and Mulatalo really well, but he's finding the try line and breaking plenty of tackles as well. So there's a big world where Iro gets a run in my teams, but I think I might just have to split center option 2 right down the middle, or split it in quarters and play Iro in one team, Holmes in one, Cobbo in one, and Brimson or Meany in another. So if one of them goes well, I'll be cheering. But it's just really hard for me to pick that center 2 spot. Are you leaning any particular way?
Yeah, look, on those 4 options in Val, Iro, Meany, and Brimson. The simple matchup data is that the Tigers allow 31 GDS points to left centers. So Val, I think for me, I've put a line through him at this stage. Iro up against the Eels, they allow 41 GDS points to left centers. So it's a little bit better. But yeah, I'm on the same train of thought with you around the injury. I'm just a little bit concerned about what he will actually do. Meany up against the Raiders. The Raiders allow 43 GDS points to right centers. So he's definitely an option. But again, like we talked about last week, he probably won't get the kicking tee because Pappy's still kicking pretty well. If that changes and we see something in the warm-up, then maybe I might pivot to Meany. And then Brimson up against the Doggies. The Dogs allow 43 GDS points to right halves as well. But it seems like the Titans sort of, they go through waves of playing really well for the first 20-odd minutes, and then that's about all they've got in them. So, yeah, or the other way, they play well in the last sort of 20 as well. So, yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about their overall attack. David Fifita looks to be named on the extended bench, might not even come in. And I always think that Titans team is better with David Fifita in the side. They just look a lot more dangerous. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure what's happening there. But for me, you said his name and he's down there at the bottom. And I think it's the pod of the week for me is Cobbo. We've seen him score a hat-trick in Magic Round before. And I think that he might be poised for a big weekend. Last week was his first run at fullback for the Broncos this season, up against the Dogs. And obviously they had an unreal game up against the top team on the ladder at the moment in the Dogs. And he earned himself his best GDS score so far in Cobbo. He now matches up against the out-of-form bottom of the table Panthers. I never thought we'd say that. The Panthers are last. How good is that? Sorry to all you Panthers supporters. Look, Cobbo, he's in front of his home crowd. It's going to be a Pat Magic Round crowd on a beautiful Queensland sunny Sunday afternoon. I think kickoff's about 4:00. Add to that, Panthers are still allowing the 3rd most points to fullbacks this season, averaging 55 GDS points against the position. And even if we take out Hammer's 100-plus score that he had against them a couple of weeks ago, the Panthers are still allowing almost 50 GDS points on average to fullbacks. So something I don't think I would have considered in the last 4 years, but I'm going to play Cobbo, who is running out as a fullback, but you can play him in the centres. So I think there's heaps of upside there for our man, Selwyn Cobbo.
That is a spicy take, and I love it. Nathan Hartwell seems to be backing you as well. Yes. He says that Cobbo is a Magic Round specialist. He loves the big stage. And that's a great point to make as well. Forget the name Penrith Panthers, but if you were told that Selwyn Cobbo is playing as a fullback, but you can slot him in as a centre, and he's playing against the Wooden Spooner or the team coming dead last on the bottom with a plus matchup in terms of oppositional data, you almost play him, 100% of the time, don't you? Added to the fact that we saw him kick 3 goals last week. So if there's any issue with Adam Reynolds, even if he's still on the field, Reynolds, but, sort of nursing something minor, Selwyn Cobbo is the next man up to take the tee with no Reece Walsh there. So, geez, that's certainly making me rethink some of my structure. And I know that we've got a big Selwyn Cobbo hat-trick special on the bingo card tomorrow night. So I'll be looking to get some Selwyn Cobbos packed. And maybe if a few of him come out of the pack and say hello, then I think he's going to have to be a must in my team. I love that stat. Let's move on quickly before too many people catch wind of
before Cucumbers Cobbo plays.
Wingers, mate, we've had sort of pretty similar look at the winger position over the last couple of weeks, it's been a little bit more simple than previous weeks without, Brian To'o and Zachy Lomax. So when they're back in the fray, we might have a pretty hard decision amongst 5 players. But for me, it's still just 3, and it's the two Knights boys there on the top of the screen and Jacob Kiraz as well. So for me, Fletcher Sharp is a lock for, similar reasons to Selwyn Cobbo. And that's just the fact that he's playing out of position. He's getting his hands on the footy far more often. And he's also got a plus matchup there against the Bunnies. So his work on the left edge there with Dylan Lucas, Bradman Best, Marju, and obviously Ponga when he sweeps around is, a really damaging edge in the competition. And they've been up and down. Lucas has been out injured. They had a game last week, all back together, and they're back again. So hopefully they've sort of ironed out any of those issues, and we probably could expect that left side to find some nice form. And it's going to start there with Fletcher Sharp. I think he does it all. He runs, he tackles, he breaks tackles. He doesn't miss too many. He's always threatening the line, and he's just a real goaler as well. He doesn't go hiding even when the Knights are struggling. We remember he scored that 80-minute try following through his own kick. So he's a competitor. He's always going to score those points. So it probably just comes down to winger number 2 for me in Greggy Marju, Jacob Kiraz. Tell us which way you're leaning.
Yeah, same conundrum for me. Again, I'm a little bit concerned or a bit nervous about playing both Knights players. If the Knights turn up a bit of nothing, having Lucas potentially in the side as well, and potentially maybe Kalen Ponga in the fullback position. I'm just a little bit nervous about having all of them. And we've also seen Marju's got a pretty low floor compared to someone like Sharp or even Kiraz as well, where they do a little bit more work in base stats. They get a bit more through those running meters and tackles, etc., compared to Marju. We did see obviously that massive game that Marju had, but that's few and far between. So it's I think for me, we talk about safety, and Kiraz is obviously the safer option. He continues to perform pretty well, even though he's back on the right side of the field. But we touched on before, Birdo's out, so ball might go down the right side even more. And the Eels have allowed 48 GDS points on average to right wingers this season, which is 10 points more than the left. So there's plenty of opportunity for them to potentially, exploit down that right side. So yeah, I'll probably play Kiraz and Sharp, and then maybe a sprinkling of Marju and Sharp, or Marju and Kiraz in a few other of the competitions. Marju for me, I'm just concerned that he's just going to have an off game again, that maybe Bradman Best gets a few tries inside of him because he doesn't need to pass the ball potentially or something like that. And, we're left with a Marju 20 when we could have had something much better from Kiraz. So, yeah, for me, it's just a simple Kiraz and Sharp again, which I know is pretty boring for the show. But there are a few other names there. If you let's say you were one of those coaches, they didn't have Sharp, didn't have Kiraz, or Marju, who would you be looking at maybe outside some of those players?
Yeah, there's a name there that some people might be surprised to see, but that's Bailey Simonson. Now, he's only played 2 games this season, but in those 2 games, he's averaged just under 50 points. And here are a list of names that he's averaging more than in terms of winger. He's got more than Coates, Mulatalo, Izako, Arthurs, Taulungi, Hirote, Hopawate, Taruva. All these guys are, they're all thereabouts, and, the decent wingers on their team. But Bailey Simonson, yes, it's a small sample size, but he's been playing some really good footy there at the Eels. He's breaking plenty of tackles. He's got some insane speed, and he's back into the team at the right time when the Eels are finding some form. He links up nicely with Mitchy Moses. He only needs half a sniff, and he finds a bit of space, just like we've seen Avarillo have some really nice games up there with the Dolphins, just through his speed and tackle breaking ability. Bailey Simonson is a name we don't typically talk about in terms of fantasy output, but look, he's the name up there on that list that's looking pretty good as a massive pod, but every chance of getting plenty of points through base, but some attacking upside as well. We can see blokes like Coates, Ronaldo, Arthur's unreal try scoring ability, but it's their runs, it's their tackle breaking ability that's far less, and their floor is so low in comparison. Yeah. So you're only going to look at someone like Greggy Marju, when he's having an off day, he scores an 18. He's the absolute pin-up poster boy for rocks and diamonds. 18 is his lowest, and 102 is his highest. Someone like Bailey Simonson, if you want a bit of safety, pump out a 40. He might get you a mid-50 or a 60, but look, I don't think many people will be talking positively about Bailey Simonson, but look, here we are. And for me, he's not going to make the team, but yeah, he's another option. Although, look, if you've got a coin and it's got 6 or 8 sides, flip it, and you probably get a different result each time. And whoever it lands on, good luck, because they're just as likely to go as well as any of the others. Obviously, Coates is playing for the best team there on paper, so you expect him to be amongst the attack a little bit more. So if you want someone with the higher upside in terms of finding the try line or getting some attacking stats, then pivoting to a Melbourne Storm player is certainly not an issue. I think Suafa Alongo might also be available as a winger again this season. So there wouldn't be many cards of him owned. We saw he played pretty well in his first game back before getting that late hit from Trell. So look, a Falongo card might be decent as well. And we know that anything happens to Pappy, anything happens to any of the halves, and he's probably likely to find a spot there at fullback or somewhere through the middle, and his pace is just electric.
Yeah, I agree. And look, just before we move on, we talk quite a lot about the upside that players playing out of position for GDS has. And I know we're a long way out from the end of the season and thinking about prize cards, but if you're sitting there looking at someone like Fletcher Sharp or Toby Couchman and you're sitting in that top 10 and you're going, man, having Toby Couchman next year as a prize card, it's going to be unreal. What you probably need to remember is that GDS also, they go about making changes to positions, off season and then even pre-season as well. So it's probably something to consider, if you're sort of in that top 10 range and you're starting to look at a prize card that maybe someone like Fletcher Sharp, if he does get moved to the halves for GDS next year, is that going to be really beneficial? And it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. He's unreal this season because he's playing out of position in GDS.
Yeah, he certainly comes back to the pack if he's amongst the halves. Yep. Probably less likely to play him amongst some of those bigger names, but who knows? He's on the ascend. He's certainly getting better and better, and he could be a guy that we're talking about alongside Cleary and Hines and those sorts of guys in the years to come as well. Alrighty, fullbacks, right? We've got some similar names on screen. There's a guy there that some people might be raising their eyebrows over because he's, put some back-to-back 20s and 30s probably for the last month now. But he's someone that I know you're pretty high on, and I certainly am this week as well. It's no secret that Kalen Ponga is down on form. There's no secret he's a fantastic footballer and excellent for fantasy. But what is it about this week and Kalen Ponga that you like?
Yeah, and look, some coaches, I'm hoping they're sitting there laughing at me right now or laughing at us because you look at his last 5 games, as you said, 25, 34, 27, 33, and 27. That is just not the Ponga that we know, but we know what he can do. The first 2 games, he was averaging 85 points, and the Knights were on fire, and we're talking, top 4 come the end of the season for the Knights. They're up against a struggling Bunnies, and look, we've just talked about a few changes there. Obviously, Latrell's out. Gray moves back to fullback. Ewan Aitken now lining up in the centres. There's news out that Jack Whiten might miss some time as well. So, that's going to shake the team up. There's also a bit of, I don't know whether it's banter or not between Wayne Bennett and Lewis Dodd and potentially a bit of hate, or I don't know if that's a bit of a stitch up or not. But, maybe things aren't going quite right for the Bunnies. So maybe this is the opportunity, like I said, for the Knights to bounce back. And this could be the opportunity for Ponga to bounce back as well. The Bunnies have allowed an average of 59 GDS points to fullbacks this season, has them ranked second for points allowed to that position. Look, they've got a low against them this season of 42 and a high of 73. And we've seen Ponga, like I said, he's scored a 99 already this season. So we know he's got it in him. And it's just about putting that all together. And, one game all together with all of those boys we've mentioned might just be the trick to get it out this week in Ponga. So for me, he's battling Cobbo for my pod of the week, I think. And I never thought I would say Ponga being a pod, but I think he could be this week.
Yeah, I agree. We've spoken at length about that Bunnies matchup for a number of weeks. We even spoke about Connor Tracy being a play. He found his way into my team on Good Friday. And he scored a nice 56 or 58 there against the Rabbitohs at fullback. And he's not someone that you typically associate with a high fantasy output, but that just goes to show just how much we're attacking this matchup. We saw Scotty Drinkwater score really well against them without a try. And, Kalen Ponga's kicking goals as well. So he's got that added security of, at least if the Knights are going well, he might not be amongst the tries necessarily, but, we expect them to score points against the Bunnies, and he's going to be kicking those conversions as well. So It's a great matchup on paper. He hasn't looked great the last 4 or 5 weeks in terms of his fantasy output, but look, he's back here at Suncorp Stadium in front of a lot of passionate Queenslanders. He would have seen Reece Walsh go down in the last couple of weeks. So, there's a lot of us here up on north of the border expecting him to put in a couple of big performances leading into that Origin period. And it probably needs to start now, for not just him, but for the Knights as well. And it doesn't get much better than a matchup with the Bunnies, minus, a number of names like Trell, maybe Whiten as well, and, a bit of an experience there through the back line. So it's a great matchup for him to target. Probably a name that we don't really need to keep spruiking and getting too many people on him. I'm happy if we keep this one relatively quiet as well.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. In terms of the other two fullbacks, I think it's pretty easy this week. In terms of Teddy and Pappy, I think I'll go back to the well with both of them. Look, Pappy continues to dominate in the stats across the park. You look at his score from last week, and on paper, it looks like he had a down game. But if you watch the game, you know why that score doesn't look as good as it did. He had a try, he kicked 4 goals, he had 3 tackles and 175 run meters. But the big thing was he got sent to the bin for 10 minutes. So, we take that out. His score of around 60 plus would be in line with his previous 2 or 3 scores. So, I think Pappy, provided he doesn't get sent to the bin again, and those rulings have slightly changed, or the interpretations from what we've been hearing might have slightly changed. Hopefully he stays on the field, and I think it's an easy play. And then same with Teddy. He's had one down game against the Panthers. However, his 5-round average is 60 GDS points. The Roosters up against the Dolphins, I've already talked about. That could be a massive matchup. The Dolphins allow 55 GDS points to fullbacks this season. So I think there could be plenty of points that could be scored between the two teams. They've had a combined 350 actual NRL points scored this season so far. So I think, plenty of points in this game. And Teddy, I feel like, will have a big part in it.
Yeah, I think coaches will also gravitate to Scotty Drinkwater. He's in a lot of form. He's also, highly traded in across some other fantasy platforms as well. So if anyone's, heavily involved in any other area of fantasy rugby league, Scotty Drinkwater is certainly someone high up on people's radars. Dylan Edwards has had a couple of decent games back from injury for the Panthers. And although the matchup with the Broncos doesn't look that great, he's always someone that rolls his sleeves up. And if the Panthers are going well, it's on the back of Cleary and him. So, and Yo as well. So he's going to want to go well, and he's never going to get you a poor score, but we've only really seen that one big game from him. And the Hammer, if we're saying that the Dolphins are going to have a big game here on Magic Round, and we're backing Herbie Farnworth in, and there's no reason why the Hammer can't go well too. So he loves putting on a show in front of the Suncorp crowd as well. And if anyone wants to gravitate to Hammer too, I see that coming with a bit of upside. So the fullback position will be quite interesting. It's not as, certain as we've been in the past, and there probably could be a couple of surprises there. But look, I think Ponga could go close to outscoring a lot of these guys on the list. I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yeah, let's hope so, because I think he's a potential pod. All right, having a look at our starter squads for this week. The only difference at the moment is the Cobbo versus Val Holmes. Like we always talk about, though, we do pivot and probably will pivot at some point based on late mail, based on some feelings or some thoughts 5 minutes out before the game. So we are not set on that team. And I'm sure my opponent for the GDS Cup, Cucumbers, is licking his lips thinking, you absolute numpty, why would you play someone like Ponga and he'll have a much better matchup with somebody else? So, hopefully Cucumbers isn't watching this and he doesn't take any points away from that.
Wouldn't that be funny if he just picked the exact same team and then just made one change, and maybe that was Ponga for Edwards, and it just came down to a 1v1 battle? I guess we won't know unless Cucumbers, you here, mate? Say hello. We're too busy taking notes and come out with the strategy. Alrighty. So that's our GDS Cup squad for Dill, and obviously my starter squad there. Dill, we're getting the same sort of graphic week in, week out. Another win for Stu, and everyone who's commenting Stu are getting rewarded. So for those that don't know, the Brodown Showdown, Dill and I compete head to head we randomly spin a wheel and pick 3 positions. We have to choose a player from those 3 positions, and it's basically a head-to-head. So Reece Robson and Cookie, as an example, the hooker position was spun. I chose Reece Robson. Dill went Damien Cook, and one of us will either win 2-1 or 3-0. The winner gets to sit back and enjoy a bit of a pack opening. The other one has to open a pack, and they have to give a couple of cards away to the winner and also to the community. So, Dill, you want to get your pack up on screen?
Yep. So before I do, I am just going to share my screen, and this is the wheel that we're going to spin. And we've got 6 names there that commented Stu on our videos that they think he was going to win last week, and obviously he did. And one lucky coach is going to get one of the cards that we open for Stu, and that is Daniel Hassett. Congrats, Daniel Hassett. You will be picking up one of the cards that I'm about to open. Let's jump across now to my GDS screen, and we're going to open a 3-player rare pack. You can see that on screen, Stu?
I can. We might have a lag if you don't refresh.
Let's stop sharing. Let's refresh. And I might just pre-open the pack now, just so that we don't have any lag. And then I will share that screen now. There we go. So on the screen, you should see 3 cards.
Yeah, you want to zoom in a fraction? Just
yes, definitely.
For our viewers on small screens.
I'm not Penrith. Give me a minute. How does that look there?
Yeah,
there we go. Okay, so Daniel Hassett there. Which card is he going to pick up today, mate?
Dan can take the card on the left.
On the left, all right.
And Dan, thanks for backing me in, buddy.
A gold, and it is a Fletcher.
Ooh, I don't know how stoked Dan would be about a gold Fletcher. Let's see what the right-hand card brings us.
It is another gold, and it is Andy Nicholson. I reckon that is a bit of a banger there for Daniel
this
Hassett.
Guy here.
Well
this
done.
Guy here.
Alrighty. And then Stu, you get the Bunnies double.
No, I actually heard that Daniel Hassett is a big Bunnies fan, so I think you'll be stoked with those 2 cards. I'm the Raiders fan. I'm happy to take the Matty Nicholson gold. Well done, and thanks for coming. Now, we'll get in touch, Daniel Hassett. Thanks for commenting on the vid, mate, showing the support. Get in touch with us on the GameDay Squad Discord server or Instagram, and we'll sort out a couple of cards for you as a big thank you and a well done. Dill, I think you've got another pack to open. Is that right?
I do. It is for our mate Sif Kanga. We obviously had a bit of a bet with him last week around his pod in Galvin. We gave him a 60-point target, and Galvin obviously hit that on 66. So I've got a 3-player rare pack here as well for Sif Kanga. So let's go through it. So starting off, you've got Tuavati, you've got Tomalolo, and a gold. So there you go. You could play Bailey Simonson in your classic or challenger squad there. Sif Kanga, well done, mate. Thank you for that bit of fun that we had, and you can get in touch with us to get those cards. Probably not the best pack for them, mate, but that's what happens. That's the pack luck and the pack gods, unfortunately.
That's right. Yeah, good on you, Sif, and thanks for the support. All right, Brightdown Showdown, 4-week round 9 for Magic Round. We've spun the wheel. We've landed on hooker once again. We've got to pick a centre and a middle. On screen is who Dill and I have gone for. It's Wade Egan, Farnworth, and Payne Haas. If you think that those 3 players are going to outscore Robson, Cobbo, and May, make sure you comment Dill's name on this video or on our YouTube page as well. Once it has gone live, you can comment Dill's name for Egan, Farnworth, and Haas, or comment Stu for Robson, Cobbo, or May. The winner of that will get a couple of cards from the opposition next week. And I think we've got a unique pack, given we're on round 10. Is that right, Dill?
Yep. A unique pack for round 10. So that will be one not to miss. So definitely jump on and comment. Easy as. You obviously just saw Daniel Hassett. All he had to do was type Stu's name. That was it. And he's won a pretty decent Matty Nicholson. And then obviously Sif Kanga has won something as well. So stoked with that. Thank you, Sif Kanga. Happy for any cards. Unreal, mate. That is good.
All right, Toby was in here earlier asking about the pack bingo. Toby, I hope you're here, mate. Dill's going to run you through very quickly. We addressed this at the start of the show, but just in case anyone missed that, we don't have any footy on tomorrow night, so how are we going to fill the void there, Dill?
Yep, so we are going to run our Magic Round special in Pack Bingo. So if you haven't played before, you get a bunch of packs, you open them, and if you hit any of the squares that we've got listed there, you will win some packs back. And if you get a bingo, you will get a 10-player elite pack. So that is diamonds and potentially a legend in one of those packs as well. And for any hit, you will get put onto the random wheel to be able to win a 10-player elite as well. So really simple. I know that there's been a lot of card exchanges happening in the Discord, so there's plenty of packs lying around, I am sure. There's also plenty of opportunity to spend some money and get some packs, and you could be rewarded with some massive prizes just for opening some packs and hitting some decent cards. So you can see a few of the squares there. We've gone with a few Magic Round moments, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about tomorrow night when we do it. Look, we'll probably kick it off at about 7 o'clock, but we'll update you with any time changes. That is Queensland time as well. And we would be doing it through the Discord channel. So all you need to do is search for the Game Day Squad Discord, use their website to get a link, and then go and join in there. There's heaps of fun, plenty of banter, plenty of chat, plenty of trade chat as well. And then we will be hosting the Pack Bingo tomorrow night, so you do not want to miss that. So make sure you get involved.
Absolutely. Cannot wait for some packed bingo tomorrow night. All righty, guys. That's it for the Round 9 Magic Round Rugby League live show for Game Day Squad. You will see on your screens that there is a bit of a change for next week. This will just be a one-off, we promise. Dill and I are involved in a bit of a prior commitment that we're unable to reschedule next Wednesday night. So we won't be coming live to you Wednesday night. If you want to get your Game Day Squad advice 24 hours earlier, next week is the place that you will get it. We're going to come live to you Tuesday next week at the regular time of 7 o'clock and not Wednesday. And that'll just be a one-off, and we'll return to our normal Wednesday evening scheduling from the weekend after, the week after. We'll remind you again on the Discord server when we're going live on the Tuesday, so you don't forget. But thanks for joining us, everyone. I look forward to a fantastic round of Magic Round footy. There's going to be some thrilling performances and some even better fantasy scores, I'm sure. Remember, if you haven't yet signed up to Game Day Squad and you're keen to get involved or win yourself some prize money and some packs, or even get your mates involved, make sure they sign up using the code FBRL25. And you can go to the start of this video as well and enter in some of our personal referral codes for some extra goodies as well. Dill, good luck this round, mate. Good luck in your GDS Cup. Good luck to the other 15 participants in the GDS Cup. We're only going to have 8 next week. Thanks for joining, as always, everyone. Thanks, Dill.
Thanks, mate. Thank you, viewers and listeners. Have a great Magic Round. We'll see you soon.
See ya.